Hello, it's Bethany. I am a lower elementary Montessori teacher, and today I am going to talk about the different planes of development from Montessori and her research and everything. And her observation. So, let's get started. There are 4 different planes of development. The first plane is infancy from 0 to 6. The next plane is childhood from 6 to 12. The next plane is adolescence from 12 to 18, and then the last plane here is maturity from 18 to 24. So I show you this chart because it's usually shown in this way of these triangles because each plane is broken up into 2 different halves, one with dynamic growth and one with stable growth. So the dynamic growths are from 0 to 3, 6 to 9, and 12 to 15, while the stable growths are ages 3 to 6, 9 to 12, 15 to 18. And so in the blue, it's when they consolidate what they have learned from the red part of their plane. So now we will talk about the different growths. So infancy, their growth is physical growth and independence. So they start out crawling and they need their parents a lot, and then all of a sudden they're like, let me do it myself, and so there is where the physical growth comes in. And then, as we'll see with some of the characteristics of 6 to 12-year-olds, they want to know why things are what they are. So they're ready for this intellectual growth. They're ready to learn as much as possible. And then for adolescence, it's the social and emotional growth, and the maturity is the growth of thinking, how do I fit in this world? So what independence is it? Because Montessori deals a lot with independence. In Montessori, we try to make independent, peaceful leaders. So what is their independence? So again, physical and biological independence is what the child seeks. And then the next one in childhood is the mental independence, thinking for themselves. Adolescence starts with the social independence, and then maturity is spiritual and moral independence. Where do I fit in this world? So what mind are they in? Probably the coolest thing that Montessori talks about is the absorbent mind. And that means from 0 to 6, they're just taking in a bunch of facts, a bunch of information. And I say facts because, as you'll see in this next plane in with characteristics, they want to know what things are because they don't have the imagination yet. Because in childhood, they have this imagination. Now, you may be thinking, well, my 0 to 6 child can be creative and imagines things. Yes, but what imagination means here is that they can start to think, okay, I know what a caveman is, but in my mind I can now see, like, that's a long time ago. I can imagine them living long ago. It's Their mind has opened up to say, okay, well, what could happen in the future and what happened in the past, and it does not physically have to be right in front of me to see what has happened with this imagination. It can be, I can think of it in my head and know what has happened. Whereas in the absorbent mind, the infancy, they say, okay, well, I know what Mars is. Let me see why it is the way it is. They want to know this why and then explain. But in the absorbent mind, that's why we try to teach them so many facts. So when they get to this next plane, they say, okay, this is what it is. And you'll see a shift too. For example, in the works, 0 to 6, they will do it very ordered and exactly how you present the work. And 6 to 12, they say, well, they start to imagine that the pieces are different things and the materials are used for different things. So it's this bigger thinking than the 0 to 6. But 0 to 6 takes in so much information. That's why we try to get all the way through division with them. We try to read with them as much as possible, especially with the facts. Practice so much from 0 to 6, so then they can really take that with them through the rest of their life. So then the next one, the 6 to 12, is the reasoning mind, because they want to know why things are. They're trying to reason with themselves. Well, I know that celery grows, but why does it grow? So that's where the fact came in. They learned that like a leaf grows from a tree, but now they want to know, why does a leaf grow from a tree? And then the humanist mind for adolescents, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but they want to know what society does for them. And then the specialist mind just means they pick what they're going to do so then they can in turn help others. Right. And the big question for each one for infancy is, what is it? We talked about all the facts they want to know. They want to know, what is this thing? And then in childhood, it's, why is that thing the thing? And then adolescents, they start to think more of themselves. They say, how can I fit in? What can society do for me? Because then at maturity, they say, why am I here? And what can I do then for society to help others? And the desire is the physical independence. For the infancy, childhood is mental independence. Again, that why. Adolescence is social independence. They start to care a lot about how they look, how they fit in, what they're doing, and why they are here. And the maturity is, how can I take what I have learned and use it for the rest of my life to help others? So learning. So infancy, they learn through the senses. That's why we have the sensorial materials in the early childhood, the pink tower, the brown stairs, the red rods, all of those things they learn through the senses. A lot of the practical life. Also they do hearing and tasting and smelling, using all the senses to learn what is in their environment around them. In childhood, they want to get as much information as possible and find out about everything, whereas in the infancy, they take what we give them and then they ask, what is this? What is this? And now they want to know as much information about certain things as possible. Adolescents, they learn through community, through what friendships they have, how they can help others. And then in maturity, it's like, wow, I can do whatever I want now. How am I going to be helpful to society? So then the characteristics, the whole plane, this is a big one. They are rooted in that reality. So what that means is whatever is in front of them is what they're going to learn, what they're going to know. And it's important because, again, it's that what. We're trying to teach them as many facts. They're in their reality. They don't have that imagination to think past what's in front of them. So they could say, I know what a desert is, but in the next plane, they're like, well, I can imagine the desert in Africa, like the Sahara Desert and all this stuff. They know it could be located in Africa, but now they can imagine it in their minds without it having to be shown in front of them. And now concrete learning, again, they use all the materials for this learning. They use a lot of sensory. Again, it's very fact driven, and the environment is what we give them. We know that we have to watch them more carefully. We have to set up the environment for them to learn, and they love order. They say, here's the stuff on the shelf and everything. And again, how you present things is exactly how they're going to do it. The 0 to 3 is exploratory, and also the 3 to 6, but they're like exploring what's around them, right? And they're learning from their environment. And then the 3 to 6 gets more ordered because they're ready to say, I've learned a lot of things, then that's the next order. And then the childhood, the 6 to 9, 9 to 12, the 6 to 12, it's again, this big imagination comes in, and it's so cool to see the change in imagination. And then their thinking moves from concrete materials to the abstraction, but the 6 to 9 still has a lot of concrete materials, as well as the 9 to 12, but they can quickly go to abstraction. Like, for example, they don't need the stamp game to solve the addition equation, subtraction equation, multiplication equation, division equation. They can just do it with a pencil and paper, and you could show them to show them why. So what is it? And they see the stamp game in the 3 to 6, usually by 6, and they say, okay, what is it? This is an addition equation. This is how I use it. And now in the 6 to 9, you show them that again, because they say, why is it that way? And you show them concretely so they can do it abstractly. And then they're just trying to understand the wrong from right, good from evil. And then neatness and order become unimportant. I'm a lower elementary teacher, and every time a adult walks and I'm like, yes, things are not exactly neat, exactly ordered. Whereas in the 3 to 6, they love that order and neatness and will lay it out. And then we get to 6 to 9 where it's not important anymore until like 9 to 12 and the adolescence where they start to care what people think again. It's just unimportant to them. And then the big one, it's the age of socialization. So they love to talk and talk and talk and talk. And that is great. And then they just want to explore and expand, again, learn as much as possible. Then we have adolescence. This is very that emotional developments. They want the independence and then interdependence of working with others and focusing more about how to fit in instead of what things are, right? Or why things are. It's like, how is society working for me? How can I gain from this, right? Because then in maturity, they figure out how they then can help society. And then a few sensitivities. So, sensitive periods are just when they're ready to learn certain things. So, in the 0 to 6, it's movement, language, order, senses, small objects, concrete experiences. So, from birth to 6, it's sensory refinement and language. Birth to 3 is movements. Ages 1 to 3 are small objects. 1.5 to 3 is potty training. Ages 1 to 4, order. 3 to 5, writing and reading. 3 to 6, grace and courtesy, and 4 to 6, math. So in that time, we introduce them to these concepts and they practice them. Again, the sensitivities are abstraction, imaginations, morality and justice, culture, and peer interactions, the age of socialization, and then how. Again, this is all how society works for them. Who can I look up to? Who are my role models? How do I behave? And just having that sense of belonging. And then maturity, you start to think about what you personally like, where you can go in society, and what is your personal responsibility. So I hope that answered some questions about the planes of development. Thank you for watching.